Guys, welcome back to the channel. Here we are talking about Illuvium 0, the fight for ETH. So I'm going to go through some of the scanning, kind of all the information that we know so far. I'm talking about the land. I'm going to go ahead and look at what I theoretically think that the land is going to go for and the reason behind it. So we've done a lot of conversations on Discord. We've talked to Johnny quite a bit. We've got a lot of different sources, and I'm going to go over exactly what I think the land is going to be worth. And also remember, guys, when Illuvium 0 comes out, when the main game is launched, it is going to do a reset. So if you're building an Illuvium 0, the only thing that you do get to keep is blueprints, guys. Blueprints are going to be the only thing that we're going to be able to carry over when they do the relaunch or when the main game is launched. Illuvium 0 is going to be reset. So essentially, if you're building up your structures in there, if you're really decking them out, if you're putting money into it, I think all of that is going to be lost from my understanding when it transitions to line up with the timeline with the main game. Also, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and click on the subscribe button. We're definitely getting our latest channel taken off the ground, guys. We have well over 500 subscribers already. So again, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments what you guys think of the video. So let's go ahead and we'll get into the Illuvium 0. All right, guys, so here is the research aspect that I was talking about. Now, overall, you're going to have one building that allows you to do bioscans. It is the research activity. I'm not going to go through and read the entire document. I'm just going to give you kind of my quick rundown, the synopsis of it. That way you don't have to go through and read multiple pages. So research is going to be super important, and I cannot stress that enough, guys. Like I just said a minute ago, the blueprints you are going to pull out of here are going to carry over to the main game when they do the reset. And so far we have been told, again, talking to Johnny over on Discord and a lot of other players, that the blueprints are going to be the only thing that carries over from Illuvium 0 into the main game launch when Illuvium 0 is up and running. So pretty much research activity, materials lab. So you build a materials lab, you must select biodata and an item, which again, we'll talk about in a minute. The cost is going to be the same regardless. So every time you do research, it is going to remain the same. Structure requirements are going to be higher to get higher tiers, which just goes hand in hand with a game similar to this. If you've played any construction games where you build up, you have to have a certain level building to go ahead and get different things. So here you see researching tier 4 might require a stage 2 or stage 3 materials lab, while researching a tier 5 is going to require a stage 3. So you're going to have to build up this building as well as the other structures that we have within Illuvium 0. Now looking here, this is when you discover a blueprint. So congratulations, you discovered a blueprint. Now this is not going to happen every time. It's broken into a couple different sections, which we're going to look at in just a minute. First one is you can discover the blueprint or you can discover a alluvial fact, which again, we'll look at in just a minute. So you can find the brand new blueprint in its entirety, or you can find a smaller portion of the blueprint itself, which is going to be alluvial fact. They do have the calculation right there. So this is going to determine the research activity, and this is what I wanted to look at for just a minute. Now, selecting player, so you're going to select the first two boxes. The blue and the green box is going to be your choice. Looking here at the Axolot 1, 2, or the Pterodactyl 1 or 2, you're going to choose the beginning research. Then you're going to choose a weapon or armor. The rest of it is going to be randomly selected. So you might get a sword, for instance, a tier 1 sword, discovery in order of stage 1. It also says that once you find a stage 1, so if I, for instance, find a sword that is tier 1, stage 1, if the next time that I'm doing research, I find a sword, I find a tier 1, it will automatically be a stage 2. So it is going to progress within stages. You will not continue to find that same stage 1. It is going to continue a stage 2 or a stage 3, depending on the items that you pick. Now, looking at this graphic, it is super basic, guys. You can see right here in the bottom, there are 150 different combinations, or an alluvial line of 50 combinations. So imagine this times 10, honestly, to the scale of what you can select as a player and the choices that are going to random out of here. So again, next two layers show the item type and the item design. So this is discovering an undiscovered blueprint. This is a brand new one. So if no one has discovered it, you will find the blueprint in its entirety, guys. So they do talk about revenue sharing here a little bit, which I don't think that's going to happen. They've looked at a couple different things, which again, none of this is set in stone. It's all kind of up to the randomization until it is released, till we see it. We're gonna have to check exactly what it is. Now, these are the facts. So this is what happens if you don't find the blueprint, you actually find a fact. It is expected each Illuvio will have about 5 facts to be discovered. Once you have the facts collected for an Illuvium, it does give you a much higher chance to successfully research an Illuvium. So you'll be able to actually complete the research at that point. Currently no structure expansions, but it's going to change over time. And then of course, it's going to be research is going to be released as a very limited alluvials. So as you can see, the version 1 release of scanning is going to be very, very basic and presumably just tier 1. But the good question, or the big question here, is the land, guys. The land is the most important part of this, and we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna get into it, and I'll show you why. All right, guys, so here we are breaking the land tiers, sites, and landmarks. So if you looked at some of the earlier documents, they have changed. They have changed considerably, especially when it comes to the landmarks, which again, we'll look at in just a minute. So looking here, again, this is subject to change. We know they're talking about November for the land launch. Now, it has been stated, and we were talking about this again over on Discord, that we will have all the information in regards to the sale, the prices, all of the information in the sale of land at least a week prior. That was the words of Alluvium. At least a week prior to the land sale, we will have all of the required documentation that we need to really make it successful. Now, by my count, we have 5 weeks left. If they're giving us a week, we have at very most a month or less if they really push the envelope to the very end of November. So we have roughly 4 weeks until the land sale, if not sooner, to have all of the details and the exactly what is going to happen. Now, in addition, we know it is going to be a Dutch auction. So what does that mean? The prices are going to start relatively high, which I'm going to give you my price predictions in just a minute, but the prices are going to start really high. They are going to fall very fast. Now that again was what Johnny had said. The price depreciation is going to fall pretty fast, but there will be a point where it drops and then levels out, which they expect the land values to level out once we see that drastic drop. Not exactly sure how fast that's going to be. In addition, they have also said when it comes to land, due to the variation of time zones, that the sale is going to be over a significant amount of time. For instance, I'm not sure if land is going to be released every couple hours or if land is going to be released every couple days. Again, depending on your time zone, depending on where you are within the world, it can vary greatly to making this a really successful sale. Because essentially, if they do release all the land when, a big part of the player base is sleeping, it could be absolute chaos. But if they're doing it over time in different time zones, it can work surprisingly well. So again, with this, I'm not going to go through and read it all. I will put some links down below so you can check it out yourself if you want to look at the more detailed information in here. So we know land tiers, sites, and landmarks. So land is broken into 3 elemental sites, 3 fuel sites. Now, the tier 1 land will not have fuel. Fuel is supposed to be, from my understanding, the biggest thing in Illuvium. So it is going to allow you to travel. It is going to allow you to cure shards. I believe it is going to allow you to catch alluvials. Everything's going to require fuel. So fuel seems to be the real backbone of the main game, the Alluvium, the main game. And I think they just call it Alluvium and then Alluvium 0. So we'll just refer to it as the main game. So that will be the big part of the fuel. From my understanding, the elements are what is going to support it through the weapons, through the armor, through the development side of the game. And then the fuel is, of course, going to be used for the capture, for the movement, for the fighting. The fuel is the most important, again, from my understanding. So with the land itself, this is where it gets interesting. So they added landmarks to tier 3 and tier 4, which some of these haven't been named yet. But when you choose a tier 3 or a tier 4, you're going to get an elemental landmark, or you're going to get a fuel landmark on tier 4, which increases the production of fuel. Now, with fuel being the most important aspect of the game, fuel is really going to, in my opinion, it is going to be the one that you want to farm. It's going to be the one that a lot of players are going to sell, especially if you're not super interested in the main game. I definitely want to check it out, but my primary focus is Illuvium 0. I think it's really cool, the play to earn aspect, and I definitely want to pick up some of this land and see what it is all about. So the other big thing to look, and this is kind of the interesting point as well, is not only the tier 1 land, which now they're saying tier 1 could have one single fuel site, which again, it went from no fuel sites to one fuel site. So if you're looking at tier 1 land, and I really didn't like the first layout of it because they were saying tier 1 land would not have any fuel. So essentially, if you owned a tier 1, if you spent money and bought a tier 1 piece of land, the main game you would struggle with greatly because you would have 0 fuel. With the tier 1 land having at least one fuel site, it means that it might not be the fuel that you need from that one single site, but you can also change it with the conversion rate to get the fuel that you need, allowing you to essentially play the main Alluvio game. Now, tier 2, of course, we double our elemental sites. We triple the fuel sites, which again, fuel I feel like is going to be super important. We go to 9 plots of the elemental sites, 12 and then 15. And then of course, 6 fuel sites, 9 and then 12 guys. So tier 5 is going to be absolutely huge. Not sure exactly, again, my prediction for the price tag. I will show you in just a couple minutes of what I am thinking. But tier 3, tier 4, I think is going to be significantly higher because of the landmarks that they added to the land. And again, when you look at other games like Axie Infinity, that's somewhat of a basis for the land because we've never had really a land sale of this magnitude with a game that is this well polished and just absolutely phenomenal and a huge, huge player base following. Within the next couple of years, I anticipate this to be much larger than Axie Infinity can ever be and will ever be. I do play Axie Infinity, Splinterlands, a couple other games. So this is going to be huge, guys, if you are getting into this game. What to know before purchase? When you buy a piece of land, it is going to give you the plot site, but I believe at that point, it is not going to give you exactly what's on it. We're not even sure if when the land comes out, if you can use it the day that it comes out, the game's already going to be up. I don't think that is going to be the case for Illuvium 0. So similar to other games, just like Axie Infinity, you could buy the land and they sold the land a while ago, but you couldn't use the land for anything as of right now. So you don't know where the site is going to be. And when you generate the site or when you have the site, it's going to randomly generate one or more of the elemental sites and the fuel sites. So you could get super lucky, get 3 and 3 of each, depending again on the size of the land. You could get super unlucky and get have a tier 1 land with 3 carbon. Well, now you have to trade for silicon and hydrogen, which again, a lot of that is going to be RNG when it comes to seeing what land you get. The tier 0 or the virtual land is free, but not collected to the blockchain. That is right, guys. You cannot pay to earn or pay to win. You're not going to have access to get resources to sell them, things of that nature with the virtual land. So we covered the land, we covered the scanning. Let's go ahead and look at my price predictions. So there's been a lot of speculation on the land and the cost. I know some of the other YouTubers, fellow content creators have kind of thrown out their thoughts for the land. And honestly, I'm going to go through the land prices and the reason why I feel like they're going to land kind of where they're going to. So the first one that we look at is, of course, our tier 1 land. Tier 1 land, we know they've said 0.5 ETH to 2 ETH, which means $2,000 to roughly $8,000 on a given day, depending on the price of Ethereum. just like Johnny had said from Alluvium, they're going to start the prices higher than expected. But there's a caveat to that, because we do not want the prices so high that you are going to turn away a lot of potential people. So if I started tier 1 at $12,000, thinking of the marketing team, thinking of everything of that nature, if I said tier 1 is $12,000, you're going to alienate an entire population of people that cannot afford the price tag for a tier 1 land, which can ultimately turn them off to the game. So there has to be an equal balance. So let's say tier 1 land starts 5,000 to 8,000. Roughly when it gets down to, remember, the slope that's dropping, it might sell for 2,000-3,000 depending, again, when you buy it. Also dependent on how many tier 1 plots there are. I think roughly the price is going to land. The starting price is going to be 5,000 to 7,000, but I think theoretically the land is going to probably sell for 2,000 to 3,000 for a plot. Not sure, again, with all of the hype, all of the investment, the money, especially the 21 million SILV that is sitting out there, which I'm sure that of that, a majority of players have been accumulating that for the land purchase themselves. So over 21 million of SILV out there, which is going to be easy because if you've earned the SILV as rewards that you're banking right now, you can pick up land essentially with the rewards that you've earned, depending how much you have put in there. Now, when it comes to the next land, tier 2, I'm thinking like $25,000-$30,000 for tier 2. Theoretically, again, at the starting point, it doesn't have to be so high that no one is buying it. But if they start at around a $25,000 price tag, and again, a lot of players are going to say I'm absolutely insane, I can see it dropping in the 10 to 12 range, possibly, the 7 to 10 range for tier 2 land, again, depending on how limited and how many plots. Because remember, from this specific land sale, we are getting 20,000 pieces. That is it, guys. There are only going to be 20,000 pieces available of the 100,000 total Alluvium land. So we're only getting 1/5 of this, guys. So this land sale is going to set the precedence for every single other land sale going forward when it comes to the Illuvium 0 aspect of this game. Now, tier 3, I believe the price tag is going to be around $100,000. With that being said, it does contain a landmark. The big question mark of the many question marks that we have is, what is the return on investment? What is the ROI going to look when it comes to the tier 3 land? If you're spending $100,000, theoretically, it might sell for $20,000, $30,000 range, again, depending how many people that pick it up. I think a lot of players will pick it up earlier than that. Ultimately, gonna have to see how far off I am on these projections. And I do hope it does come in lower. It might come in significantly lower, which I would be completely okay with. I have my SILV set aside for the purchases. Tier 4, $500,000. So I threw the number out, 50,000 yesterday, which I thought 50,000 was pretty high for a tier 4. Johnny kind of went back and forth and said probably significantly higher than that, which my term of significantly is adding another 0 on it. So taking your 50,000 to 500,000 to see. So they're thinking, being 5 times, 10 times, 20 times the price that they think it's actually going to sell for. So if, being a marketing team or being a content creator for Alluvium, if I'm looking at tier 1 and I want my tier 1 land to sell at $2,000 for every piece of tier 1, I would start it again in the 5 to 7 range. You'll get a couple people that'll pick it up on the higher end. You'll get a lot of people in the middle end, and you will get some players that are going to hold out for the lower end, and also a portion of the players that will not have an option to pick up any land at all due to the cost. But like I said, this is the first time that we're seeing the land. So you're still going to have a lot of other opportunities really to pick up land in the future. So if you're aiming for a tier 3 or tier 4, this might be the time where you just skip to save some money, to bank some more rewards at that time, to really stockpile the SILV. And I know Kieran and a couple other of the Alluviums, the creators of Alluvium have said about the tier 5 land. I'm thinking 10 million, 10 million plus. To be honest, when you look at 600 million is what they've kind of been talking about an esports tournament. So you're probably talking tier 5, even possibly landing in the 50 million, $100 million range. Remember, tier 5 guys, out of the 10,000 plots, they have 7. That is it, guys. You are going to have 7 tier 5 lands. That is all there is ever going to be in existence. We're not sure if they're going to go to specific companies that are picking them up, or if it's going to go to a player base that's picking them up, because ultimately my thought on the tier 5 land is Alluvium is going to have some form of control over a tier 5 land, just from the simple fact of the sheer time and effort in marketing of arena tournaments on esports. It is crazy to see how much stuff is behind the scenes of esports tournaments, in the planning and the sponsors, and just everything, knowing marketing, knowing business, knowing finance. They're going to have somewhat of the tier 5 or the arena control to keep it in line with the vision of what Alluvium and what these esports competitions are going to be, which again might make a much higher price tag, 10, 50, 100 million. But guys, remember, we all benefit from this. And that's the other big thing is, remember, you do benefit from this. If you are a holder of the ILV token, not only are you getting the sweet rewards out of getting the staking bonuses in there, but the money from the land sale is going into the vault. So it's going into the vault. It is going to be revenue distribution that is coming out of there, just like the funds that the game creates. So month to month, there's of course going to be operating expenses, everything of that nature, but the vault is going to hold the majority of the revenue distribution. So it's going to be similar to, again, stocks where you do get dividends. Here you're going to get revenue distributions out of the vault as this game progresses, and as we add more games to the Illuvium lineup, it's just going to get bigger and bigger, guys. That is why so many players are behind these products and behind this system. The NFT gaming system is absolutely breathtaking. I have played games my entire life, and something like this, it is a game changer, guys. I still continue to play games, and again, I have my entire life going back to Atari, Commodore, regular Nintendo. It's always been there. Now you have an opportunity to own what you have in the game and really build a stake when it comes to gaming itself. So guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Very cool to see all of the information here. That is all the most current, up-to-date information we have on Illuvium Zero right now. I want to see how far off I'm going to be with my forecast on the land sale and see exactly where these price tags come in. So again, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Guys, I'm covering Alluvium and I'm covering Guild of Guardians. That's probably the only 2 games that I'm going to be covering going forward on here. Hopefully we can pick up a sponsorship with Alluvium. I did my application. Haven't heard anything back from them, but it would be really cool. I love making the content. So guys, again, thank you guys for watching. And as always, thank you guys for watching.